Are you ready for the shocking changes coming after August? Major retailers like Walmart are gearing up for a wave of transformations that could catch you completely off guard. From looming product shortages to new economic policies that might hit your wallet harder than ever, there's a lot happening behind the scenes that no one is talking about. What's being kept under wraps could have a direct impact on your daily life and your finance. In today's video, we're uncovering the truth about what's really going on and why you need to prepare now. The details might just leave you stunned. Ignoring them could cost you big time. Don't miss this deep dive into the secrets Walmart and others don't want you to know. Buckle up, because what's coming next might just change everything. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. Point 1. The looming crisis of supply chain disruptions and shortages. As we move into the fall, a storm is brewing that could shake the foundation of how Americans shop for their daily essentials. Walmart, the retail giant that millions rely on for groceries, household items, and more, is quietly preparing for a potential crisis that could leave shelves empty and consumers scrambling. The hidden threat? A perfect storm of supply chain disruptions and economic instability that could lead to widespread shortages of essential goods. Experts are sounding the alarm about the fragility of the global supply chain, and Walmart is taking no chances. The company is reportedly stockpiling key items like canned foods, pasta, and rice, non-perishable staples that can sustain households during times of scarcity. But why is Walmart making these moves now? The answer lies in a complex web of challenges that are converging to create a potentially catastrophic scenario. First, let's talk about the global supply chain. Over the past few years, we've seen how easily it can be disrupted. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed its vulnerabilities, causing delays and shortages that are still being felt today. Add to that ongoing geopolitical tensions, natural disasters, and rising shipping costs, and you have a recipe for disaster. For example, conflicts in key trade regions can disrupt shipping routes, making it harder and more expensive for goods to reach their destinations. These disruptions don't just affect luxury items or electronics, they hit the essentials: food, toiletries, and other daily necessities. Walmart, as one of the largest retailers in the world, is particularly vulnerable to these disruptions. The company relies on a vast network of suppliers and transportation systems to keep its shelves stocked, but when one link in the chain breaks, the entire system can falter. This is why Walmart is taking proactive steps to prepare for the worst. By increasing its inventory of non-perishable goods, the company aims to cushion the impact of potential shortages. However, this strategy also highlights a deeper concern: the possibility of a prolonged period of economic instability that could make shortages the new normal. Another critical factor contributing to these potential shortages is the rising cost of raw materials. From metals used in electronics to grains used in food production, the cost of producing goods is skyrocketing. These increases are often passed down the supply chain, making it more expensive for retailers like Walmart to maintain their inventory levels. And when costs go up, consumers ultimately pay the price. Labor shortages are another piece of the puzzle. The transportation industry in particular has been hit hard. A lack of truck drivers and port workers means that even when goods are available, there aren't enough people to move them from ports to warehouses and then to retail location. This bottleneck can lead to delays and reduced stock availability, further exacerbating the problem. Walmart is also keeping a close eye on the potential for strikes at key U.S. ports. A disruption in port operations could have a domino effect, delaying the import of goods and compounding existing supply chain issues. This is especially concerning for perishable items, which can't withstand long delays without risking spoilage. To mitigate this risk, Walmart is focusing on stockpiling non-perishable goods that can be stored for extended periods. The company's actions are a clear indication of the challenges ahead. But what does this mean for the average consumer? It means that the days of walking into a store and finding everything you need may soon be a thing of the past. Shoppers could face empty shelves, higher prices, and the stress of not knowing when or if essential items will be restocked. The underlying causes of these issues are complex and multifaceted, but the impact is simple. Life is about to get a lot harder for millions of Americans. Walmart's preparations are a wake-up call for all of us to start thinking about how we can adapt to a world where shortages and disruptions are the new normal. Point 2, the inflation crisis and the shrinking value of your dollar. If you've noticed that your grocery bill seems to be climbing higher every week, you're not alone. Inflation is hitting Americans hard, and Walmart shoppers are feeling the pinch more than ever. But what's really driving these price hikes? The answer lies in the declining value of the US dollar and a series of economic policies that are making it harder for your money to stretch as far as it used to. Over the past few years, the purchasing power of the dollar has dropped significantly, by as much as 25%. This means that the same amount of money buys far fewer goods than it did just a few years ago. The reasons for this decline are numerous, but they all point to one thing: a weakening economy. Excessive money printing, rising national debt, and unsustainable economic policies have all contributed to this crisis. For Walmart shoppers, the impact is immediate and tangible. When you go to buy groceries, you're not just paying for the cost of the items themselves, you're also covering the increased costs of production, shipping, and distribution. These costs have risen dramatically due to inflation, and they're being passed down the supply chain to consumers. Take a simple cart of groceries, for example. A few years ago, it might have cost you $50.00. Today, that same cart could easily set you back $75.00 or more. This isn't just about higher prices, it's about a fundamental shift in the economy that's making it harder for families to make ends meet. One of the most concerning aspects of inflation is its snowball effect. When consumers see prices rising, they often start buying more than they need, fearing that prices will go even higher. This behavior, known as panic buying, can create artificial shortages, further driving up prices. Retailers like Walmart are then forced to raise prices even more, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break. Global supply chain disruptions and geopolitical tensions are also playing a significant role. For instance, if a key supplier faces political instability or a natural disaster, it can disrupt the flow of goods, leading to scarcity and higher costs. Walmart, as a major importer of goods, is particularly vulnerable to these disruptions. The company has to spend more dollars to buy the same amount of foreign currency needed for purchasing goods abroad, and this expense is often passed on to consumers. Inflation doesn't affect all products equally, which adds another layer of complexity. Basic necessities like food and energy tend to see sharper price increases because demand for these items remains constant regardless of price changes. Discretionary items like electronics or clothing might see more variable pricing, but when necessities become more expensive, consumers have less disposable income to spend on other things. This shift in spending behavior can have a cascading effect, reducing demand for non-essential goods and potentially leading to economic slowdowns in other sectors. For Walmart shoppers, this means that even if the prices of some goods appear stable, the overall cost of a typical shopping trip is likely to rise. Walmart and other retailers are trying to mitigate these impacts by optimizing supply chains, negotiating better terms with suppliers, and implementing technology to reduce operational costs. However, these measures can only go so far when fundamental economic pressures, like a declining dollar and rising inflation, are at play. The reality is that prices will likely continue to increase, making it crucial for consumers to stay informed and adjust their budgets accordingly. Walmart's actions, from stockpiling goods to adjusting pricing strategies, are a clear indication of the challenges ahead. But the question remains: how prepared are you for what's coming next? Point 3. California's policies and their ripple effect on America's food supply. California, often referred to as the agricultural heart of the United States, plays a pivotal role in feeding the nation. From fresh fruits and vegetables to nuts and dairy, the state's farms supply a significant portion of the food consumed across the country. However, recent economic policies and legislative changes in California are creating a ripple effect that could drastically impact food availability and prices nationwide. What's happening in California isn't just a local issue. It's a national concern that could leave millions of Americans feeling the pinch at the grocery store. One of the most controversial policies shaking up the state is California's new law allowing non-citizens to purchase homes with zero down payments. While this policy is primarily aimed at addressing the state's housing crisis, it has unintended consequences for the agricultural sector. As housing demand surges, more land is being developed for residential use, leaving less space for farming. This reduction in farmland could significantly impact California's ability to produce essential crops, leading to a decrease in the overall food supply that the state contributes to the national market. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. California's push for stricter price gouging laws is adding another layer of complexity. These laws are designed to prevent businesses from raising prices excessively during emergencies, but they also create challenges for farmers and suppliers. With rising production costs due to labor shortages, water restrictions, and other local regulations, many farmers are finding it difficult to adjust their prices to cover their expenses. This financial strain is forcing some farmers to scale back production or even leave the industry altogether, further tightening the food supply. Water scarcity is another critical issue plaguing California's agricultural sector. The state's stringent environmental regulations aimed at reducing water usage and protecting local ecosystems have placed immense pressure on farmers. Recent droughts have only made matters worse, forcing many to cut back on water-intensive crops or invest in costly irrigation technologies. These measures not only increase production costs, but also reduce crop yields, leading to less produce being available for shipment across the country. California's ports, which serve as major entry points for imported goods, are also feeling the strain of the state's economic policies. Stricter emissions regulations for trucks and shipping vessels have led to higher compliance costs, which are often passed down the supply chain. This, combined with labor shortages at ports and among truck drivers, has caused delays in the distribution of perishable goods. The result? Food spoilage and waste before these items even reach the shelves of stores like Walmart. Labor costs in California are another significant factor driving up food prices. The state has some of the highest minimum wages in the nation, along with strong labor protections. While these policies aim to improve working conditions for farm workers, they also contribute to higher operational costs for farmers. As wages rise, so do the costs of harvesting crops, which are ultimately passed on to consumers. For retailers like Walmart, this means higher prices on the shelves and fewer choices for shoppers. Adding to the financial burden are new taxes and fees, such as the proposed carbon tax aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. While these measures are designed to promote sustainability, they also increase production and transportation costs. This added expense often leads to reduced production capacity and higher prices for consumers, making it harder for families to afford the food they need. The cumulative effect of these policies is a perfect storm of challenges for California's agricultural sector. As the state struggles to balance environmental sustainability, economic growth, and food production, the rest of the country is left grappling with the consequences. For Walmart shoppers, this means higher prices, fewer options, and the looming threat of food shortages. Point 4. The threat of supply chain disruptions and strikes. The stability of America's supply chains is hanging by a thread. The potential for widespread strikes at U.S. ports could push it over the edge. Ports are the lifeblood of global trade, handling approximately 90% of all goods entering the United States. If a strike were to occur, it could bring this critical system to a grinding halt, leading to empty shelves, skyrocketing prices, and widespread economic disruption. Labor disputes are at the heart of this looming crisis. Port workers, represented by unions like the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, ILWU, have been locked in tense negotiations with employers over wages, benefits, and working conditions. One of the most contentious issues is the introduction of automation at ports, which threatens job security for many dock workers. If these disputes aren't resolved, a strike could shut down operations at major ports along the West Coast, including Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Oakland. The impact of such a strike would be felt far beyond the ports themselves. Cargo ships would be left idling offshore, unable to unload their goods. This would create massive backlogs, delaying the delivery of everything from food and electronics to automotive parts. For retailers like Walmart, these delays could lead to stockouts of essential items, leaving customers frustrated and stores struggling to meet demand. In anticipation of potential strikes, Walmart and other major retailers are taking proactive measures to mitigate the impact. One strategy is to increase inventory levels of non-perishable goods and essential items that can be stored for extended periods. By stockpiling these products, Walmart aims to cushion the blow of any supply chain disruptions. Another approach is to explore alternative transportation methods, such as air freight. While significantly more expensive than ocean freight, air transport offers a faster way to move high-value or urgently needed products. However, this option is limited by capacity constraints and high costs, making it a last resort rather than a long-term solution. Diversifying the supplier base is another key strategy. By sourcing products from a wider range of countries and regions, Walmart reduces its dependency on any single port or geographic area that might be affected by strikes. For example, the company is increasingly turning to suppliers in Vietnam, India, and Mexico, spreading its supply risk more evenly. But the challenges don't end at the ports. Inland logistics are also at risk. Delays at the ports can create congestion in warehouses and distribution centers, slowing down the movement of goods across the country. This bottleneck effect not only increases transportation costs, but also makes it harder for retailers to keep their shelves stocked. The economic impact of a prolonged port strike could be devastating. Retailers like Walmart could face significant financial losses due to stockouts and reduced sales. Consumers, meanwhile, would be left grappling with higher prices and limited availability of essential goods. Food products, particularly perishables, are especially vulnerable to supply chain disruptions. Even a short delay can lead to spoilage, reducing the quality and availability of these items. This is a major concern for Walmart, which relies on a steady flow of fresh produce and other perishable goods to meet customer demand. The environmental and social consequences of port strikes are also worth considering. Ships idling offshore contribute to air pollution, while workers on strike may face financial hardships. Local economies that depend on port activities could suffer from reduced economic activity, further compounding the crisis. To address these challenges, Walmart and other retailers are lobbying for government intervention to prevent strikes before they occur. The federal government has the authority to step in under the Taft-Hartley Act, which allows for intervention in strikes that could impact national health or safety. However, such measures are often controversial and come with their own set of challenges. For consumers, the best course of action is to stay informed and prepare for potential disruptions. Stocking up on non-perishable items and monitoring prices can help mitigate the impact of supply chain issues. As Walmart and other retailers brace for what's to come, one thing is clear: the road ahead is fraught with uncertainty, and preparation is key. As we've uncovered, the challenges ahead are far more complex and far-reaching than they may seem on the surface. From looming supply chain disruptions and economic instability to California's policies reshaping the food supply and the ever-present threat of inflation, the ripple effects are already being felt, and they're only set to intensify. Walmart's proactive measures, like stockpiling goods and diversifying suppliers, are clear indicators that the retail giant is bracing for a storm. But the real question is, are you ready? The truth is, these issues don't just affect Walmart. They affect all of us. Rising prices, potential shortages, and economic uncertainty could disrupt daily life in ways we've never experienced before. The time to prepare is now. Stay informed, plan ahead, and take steps to protect yourself and your family from the challenges that lie ahead. What's coming after August could change everything, and ignoring the warning signs could leave you unprepared. So don't wait until it's too late. Keep an eye on these developments, adjust your spending habits, and stock up on essentials while you can. The road ahead may be uncertain, but with the right preparation, you can navigate it. Stay tuned for more updates, and remember, knowledge is power. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to face whatever comes next.